Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of the EcoStruxure Machine Expert HVAC. I'm your host, Leandro Mada, and in this video what we're gonna see is the installer that we have with the software. So let's go to the presentation. So basically, along with the installation of Machine Expert HVAC, we have another part which is called the installer. Okay, and I showed one of the videos one of the difference we want to create, like a project that includes different machines or different PLC in one project that we can access inside just to organize the data. But that is one part. The other part of the installer basically is to change the data that we have to configure the machine or see the data in the PLC in a different way. Basically, here is all the things here. In more detail, but I'm going to focus on one specific topic that is related to how we can easily see the data in order to configure or analyze what's going on. Okay, instead of going through the code, we can see in a different way the information. So once we create the project and we compile it, it creates this file called the same name of the folder that we have the project, but the extension is CFN. So this CFN is the one that opens the installer. Okay, and if we go, for example, in my case, I got this part over here. Okay, this is our project. If I open this, it will open the installer that is opening on the other window. Okay, and if you take a look here, is similar to the commission. Okay, so if we open now the project, my project, and go to commissioning, you can see that is similar. Okay, but it doesn't have the possibility to make the programming. So here is a huge difference now. So I can share with another person this CFN so they can try to connect to the controller, okay, and read some specific variables that I want them to see. Okay, so that's one thing that we can do here. Instead of sharing the complete project and we don't know that they touch the logic or everything, you can share only the installer. Okay, so they can access to all parameters. Okay, but there is also a possibility to access to a specific part of the variables in a different way. So if you use all parameters, you should be able to see the one that we have created. Okay, I have these ones over here. But trying to access to this information, if in this case I have, I don't know, no more than 20 variables or 30 variables. If I have 100, 200, and all spread along with this memory, it's going to be a nightmare to identify what I want. So in order to avoid that, we can create menus, but let's follow the presentation so I don't spoil it all. So here you can see the different things that we have between the installer and the commissioning tab. Okay, so basically it has this application, okay, where the installer has the part for the embedded HMI and the possibility to remote, and also have the possibility to play with this part with the CAN extension and the Ethernet in case we want the Ethernet binding or CAN binding, but that part will be covered later. So let's continue with this. So I already mentioned that it's going to be easy for everyone to easily identify the information. So for that we can create what we call menus. So in the menu we just right click on the configuration. Here is only, it's not in the installer. Okay, this is in the project that we open. Okay, and this modification will have an effect on the installer. Okay, so if we go to the configuration, right click on menus, add menu, we should be able to add one menu. Here we just change the name, so it's going to be my machine in this case. So let's try to do this. So let's go to configuration, menus, add menu, change this, my machine. You can right click and rename, okay, or move up or down if you have multiple things. So let's add a new one. So I have status variables, okay, here. Okay, and I have expansion. I don't know why I created this, but I have it. So let's add my machine xval, xval2, and then here I can create another menu for valves, and here just organizing the data. So valve 1, valve 2, valve 3. Let's create another one, add menu for pump. This one I'm going to delete it from the machine. I'm going to put it on valves. Say done. Here in pumps, I'm going to add pump 1, pump 2. Let's see, what do we have? I can use a status or EEPROM variable, so I'm going to use this one, drive. So here, right click, add menu, drives. Drive 1, drive 2, and drive 3, why not? The description will be given by the configuration that you have used here, okay, in the description, otherwise it would not do anything. Okay, so now I have created these menus, so I can compile. And now if we go to commissioning, we should be able to see here in the application, training, this is the name, and then here I have my machines. My machine doesn't have anything, but in valves I have this, this, and this. So I have already divided the information and classified what I want to see. Now, if I'm able to connect to the controller, okay, let me just show you this. Just want to show you that I connected. See? Okay, here in the bottom you can see that I'm connected with the controller. They have different code, so don't worry about it. I'm going to download it again. Yeah. So here, what I can do is to read information. Instead of going to all variables, I can read it from here. Read, okay, and I can also change, even if it's EEPROM variables, I can change from here. So it's going to be 12, 42. I read it, sorry, 12, 42, and then I can write this information. You have the read and write over there to write information directly into the controller. And if you're using that in the program, for example, let's go here, drive to 12. As this one is EEPROM, you cannot change it, okay? But if you're using the commissioning, yes, you can. So this one's going to be 16, right? And you have the 16. So this is basically the idea, to organize the information. So this is wonderful when you work inside a project. But if you want to, for example, see this in a different way, okay? Imagine that you don't know, let's go to the valves. Here, I already spoiled it, but this variable, okay, you have the installer type and you have the IEC type. That this part is how the code is going to read the variable, and the installer type is how the installer or the technical part is going to see the variable. So instead of seeing, in this case, the Boolean variables as true or false, we can see something different. In this case, I can see if an unknown, in this case, that I had created before, I already explained what is an unknown, so you can check it from the previous videos, but I already created different unknowns. Depending on the value that I have, then I can show a string. So if I do that, okay, I can link that to the variable that I have here, and instead of showing 0 or 1, true or false, I can see the real meaning of this. And if I want, I can open and close it and do whatever they want and change the data. Okay, so this is the wonderful thing that is easy to read instead of analyze. Oh, okay, it's a 0. What is, how is going to affect the code? No, here is simple saying, okay, it's closed or it's open, and then you can do whatever you want on the enums and create your own to be much easier to read the code. Not read the code, but to read the actual status of what you want. That's the magic of this. Let's go back here. Here I created a few menus, all the access. Here you can use the EEPROM or the status variables along with this menu. You can mix it together. It doesn't matter. You can put it together in one, or you can divide to be more specified on what you want. Once you finish this, it's important to compile, so you will update everything. And then the other thing missing is that we need to see that in the installer. Okay, so I have opened the installer or not. Yes, I have opened it. Let me just close it. You can open the installer from here, from the project, using open developer, open with installer. So it opened on the other side. So here is open. So here you should be able to select from here, PLC, training, my machine, everything once again. Okay. So I believe I just close this one. I'm going to compile all because that one is from the previous one. Have it working with. Wait for it to finish. I was playing with this before, that's why you see something different. Open with installer. You can see they have the new updates. So let's open this and disconnect. So I can connect again here. You can see that I'm connected with the controller, and I can go here and see the real status of everything. Okay, and I can change from here also the information. So in this particular case, there is no need for someone to access to the application. So if I, for example, let's disconnect from here. So the change is no. What I'm going to do is to change the name of the folder, training, rename. No, just bear with me. Going to create a new folder here. Testing installer. So what I'm going to do is to copy this. Okay, I'm going to put it on testing installer just to show you. Imagine that I have changed the computer and send this part to another person. I'm going to change training to, probably need to close all this part. Training, I'm going to change the folder to this one. Okay, and now I'm going to open the testing. I opened only this just to see the behavior, what's really happened. So you can see, I can see this, which is the same. I can access to the training and everything. Okay, all the values are in there, but probably this location I had before is no longer working because it doesn't show up. So if I compile this part, probably have received an error. Okay, it wasn't able to find this part, which is fine because I changed the extension. but it will allow me to connect. So I can connect to the controller. It's connected, and here you should be able to see that I'm able to open and write directly to the controller. So instead of sharing with the installer or another person the complete project and they need to make modifications, see what's really happened, instead of having the full code, they can use the installer. Okay, and it's also useful to have the menus plus the enum, so we can have a better view about what is really happening with the machine. Let's go to the here. I don't want to avoid anything. I forget about something. So create variables in Eperon. We already saw that. I have it. Create two menus, some menus, add folder, check the enums. I have already done this part quickly. And now if we're going to connect only using the installer, then we have different ways to connect. So if we open the installer, I quickly show you this, but the idea is to show you how it works. So in order to connect to the PLC, doesn't matter which one is already installed with something, okay, it's much better. Just need to go to communication, select the PLC settings, and here you have different ways to connect. So if we're going to use Ethernet connection, the RJ45, the Ethernet cable, okay, model TCP, activate properties and change the IP address. Then if you're going to use the miniUSB cable, activate properties and select the COM port that you have. That will probably appear on the device manager. It will show up on the device manager. So open the device manager, open this, and you should be able to see that the COM port that you have. This one I don't have it connected yet, but you should be able to see it. So once is this one connected, okay, you should be able to see the COM port. And that's it. There is nothing else to touch here. Just okay, and that's it. Then if you're using the M171 optimized, what you can do is to activate this one, select the COM port that is configured for that. It's the same device manager, and see which is the COM port. Okay, and then you should be able to connect. In this case, I'm going to use this one because it's the one I have already connected. So 2. Okay. Okay. And then you just connect with this one. It's connected. So for the M172 with Ethernet, then there are a few things that you need to check. You need to enable this part over here, otherwise probably you shouldn't be able to connect. Okay, this is the default. By default, everything is disabled, so for cybersecurity. But here in my case, I have changed it. So probably if you want Ethernet later, use the miniUSB, change this part, and then connect again. So let's go back here. I already explained all this. This one miniUSB, this one M172. But it's different. So once we are connected, we have different colors. So if it's red, it means that the value that you have right now on the installer, on the config, on the commissioning, is not the. It's not updated. Okay, so it could be that is the value that has the PLC or not. Okay, and if it's black, it means that it's the same value on the controller. Okay, and probably the same value as default. So we have already showed you this part. Go to the folders, open the folder created for deductor variables, modification variable, check the color. So we have already done this part. If I'm not wrong, here you can see that it changed. This doesn't mean that it's not the last value. If I read it, you can see this is the one that comes with the default, but this one is the new value that I have. It doesn't mean that it's not the same as PLC. This one is different from the default value that I have. Okay, you can see here, if I read it off, and if I change this to running, it's in blue. Doesn't mean that it's not correct, it's just different from the default value that we have configured. So Again, this is a useful tool when you don't want someone to have the code and they need to make some modification. You don't have any HMI or something. This is good. It's a good tool to help us to easily access to the controller. So there is no need to share again the complete code, just this. And it's important if you have time to use the enums, so it gives us a better understanding of what's going on. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I see you on the next one.